All right, what you'll do is have you start out front here and you just do a general overall look at the vehicle, make sure nothing's leaning left or right, nothing looks broken or anything like that, no big puddles of fluid underneath of it, no oil or antifreeze or anything like that. Then we'll start at the top. We got our clearance lights up there. You got 3 amber clearance lights. They're not cracked, damaged. We have our marker lights on the side. They're amber in color also. They're not cracked or damaged either. Then we'll walk up to the bus. We have our windshield. It's not cracked or damaged in any way. There's no illegal stickers on it. Seems to have a good seal around the outside. We'll check it when we get inside looking for any leaks or any possible leaks, that kind of stuff. We have a windshield wiper. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged. And it seems to be flush. The blade seems to be flush against the windshield. We'll check its operation when we get on the inside. We have our mirror. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged. None of the glass is in bad condition. And we'll check its adjustment when we have a seat in the vehicle. We have our hood latch. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged in any way. We'll go ahead and let it loose. We have our turn signal 4-way flasher. It's amber in color. It's not cracked or damaged or loose in any way. We have our crossover mirror. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged. The lens and it's in good condition. No problems there. Then we go down here. We have our 4-way flasher and turn signal here. It's also amber in color and it's not cracked or damaged. We have a high beam and a low beam. It's not cracked or damaged or any sign of any moisture inside the lens. And then we have a bumper. Bumper's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged in any way, not bent. It's proper height off the ground. So we talked about all that stuff over there. We don't have to repeat our stuff, but we would check all this stuff the same way. Okay. So pop the hood here, come back and open up the hood. Pull it all the way down, make sure she latches into place. There she goes, it's cocked. So just a general overview of the engine. Looks in good condition. I don't see any signs of any leaks or anything like that. No oil or fluid leaks. So we'll start up here with the antifreeze reservoir. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged in any way. I don't see any leaks or anything from any of the hoses or the reservoir itself. All the hoses look in good condition. And it has a cap on it. We come down here to the alternator. The alternator is mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged in any way. All the wires on the back of it are securely mounted and none of them are frayed or anything like that. It is a belt driven alternator. We have a water pump down there. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged in any way. No sign of any leaks, and it's also belt driven. The serpentine belt that runs all that is in good condition. It's not cut or frayed in any way, and it has no more than 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch play in it. We come over here to our radiator. Our radiator is mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. All the hoses coming in and out of it are in good condition, securely fastened. No sign of any leaks whatsoever. We have our windshield washer reservoir. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any fluids. And it has a cap on it. And that's your engine compartment. Next thing we'll do is the suspension. We have a front and a rear spring hanger. Both of them are mounted properly. They're not cracked, damaged, or loose. We have 2 leaf springs that are not cracked or damaged or shifted out of position. They're securely fastened to the axle by 2 U-bolts. The U-bolts are tight. They're not cracked, damaged, or loose. We also have an airbag that's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any air. We have a shock absorber that's mounted properly. It's not cracked or damaged in any way, and it's not leaking any fluids. And that's our suspension. Next is our brakes. We start with our air line coming in. Our air line securely fastened on both ends. No sign of any leaks, no cuts, bulges, or gouges. Our brake chamber is mounted properly. It's held together with a C-clamp. It's nice and tight. No sign of any leaks. We have our slack adjuster and push rod. They're mounted properly. They're not cracked, damaged, or loose. And you can't pull the push rod out more than 1 inch. Next thing we do is we go to our drums and our pads. The drums and pads are not cracked, damaged, or loose, or contaminated with any oil. and the pads are more than 1/4 inch in thickness, or they could say that they're not worn dangerously thin. That's your brakes. Next is tire. The tire has to be a virgin tire. That means it can't be a recap. It has to be at least 4 30-seconds tread, checked with the tread depth gauge. There's no cuts, gouges, or bulges on the inside or outside sidewalls. We have a good bead around the rim of the tire. No sign of any leaks. We come down and find the valve stem. The valve stem's nice and straight. It's not cracked, bent, or leaking any air. It does have a cap on it, and that's where we check the tire air pressure with the tire pressure gauge to make sure we're up to manufacturer's specifications. Where we used to just say it had 110 pounds PSI, but now we have to say that it's manufacturer specification because Double Coin or Goodyear or Michelin all have different manufacturer's ratings. So that's what you got to say. The tire pressure is at manufacturer specifications. Next we go to the rim. The rim's easy. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose, and no illegal welds. There's no cracks in between the lug nuts. All the lug nuts are nice and tight. All securely fastened, no dust trails showing signs of anything being loose. We have our wheel seal here. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose, or leaking any fluids, and it's filled to manufacturer specifications. So now we go to this side. Over on this side, we'll start up here with the power steering reservoir. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any fluids. It does have a cap on it. We take the cap out, wipe off the stem, check it back in there to check the amount of fluid in it, and it's up to manufacturer specifications. Go ahead and tighten the lid back down. All the hoses coming out of it are securely fastened and no sign of any leaks. We come down here and we check our oil and our transmission the same way. We pull them out, wipe them off with a rag, stick them back in, pull them back out, check the fluid levels. Check both of them the same way. We've got our we have our steering column. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, bent, or broken. The CV joints at both ends are in good condition. No sign of excessive wear or anything like that. We go in here, we have our compressor for our air brake system. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any air. We also have our power steering pump. It's mounted back there. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any fluids either. Both are, one thing they have in common, they're both gear driven. The compressor and the power steering pump are both gear driven. So then we come here, we have our power steering gearbox. Our gearbox is mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any fluids. All the hoses coming on off of it are good condition, no sign of any leaks. We have our pitman arm. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. We have our drag link. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's securely fastened at each end with castle nuts with Carter keys in it. And our last thing is the tire rod. Our tire rod securely mounted. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. And that's all we got to talk about. Once we get to the tire rod, we're done with the front of the vehicle. We can go ahead and close the hood. We don't have to talk about brakes or anything like that or tires, because we already talked about them up here. So while we're right here, we'll just take a quick look down the side of the vehicle. All the windows and lights and everything seem to be in good condition. The side of the bus has no damage to it. We got our marker lights up on the top that are proper color. They're yellow and red. Our reflectors are in good condition. They're proper color, yellow and red. And then we have our turn signals, four-way flashers down the side. They're in good condition too. Like I said, this is a school bus. You don't have to worry about it. So we'll open up our fuse panel here. All our fuses seem to be in good condition. All our wires are in here. We don't see any sign of any chafing wires, any burning wires, any corroded wires, anything like that. Everything's in good condition, and it has a good seal around it. No sign of any moisture getting inside. We have our batteries. Batteries are mounted properly, securely fastened inside the vehicle. No sign of any corrosion or wires making contact with anything they shouldn't be. They're all in good condition. Get right here, we got to talk about 2 air tanks underneath there that are mounted properly, they're securely fastened to the vehicle, and no sign of any leaks. All the air lines running back through there are secure too, no leaks in any of the air lines. We also have our drive shaft that comes from there back to here. Drive shaft's in good condition, it's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's got good universal joints on each end, seem like they're in good condition. We also have our exhaust that runs the whole length of the bus. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, no sign of any leaks anywhere, any soot or anything like that. Then we have our frame that goes all the way down. It's not cracked, bent, or broken in any way. Then we have our cross members that go across. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. And then we have our floor that goes all the way back, and there's no sign of any weak spots or holes from looking up from the bottom of the floor. So then we come up here to this axle here, and it's kind of like up there. We have a front spring hanger. It's mounted properly, not cracked, damaged, or loose. And we have a spring that comes back to the axle. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. And it's mounted to the axle with U-bolts. U-bolts are securely fastened. They're not cracked, damaged, or loose. We have an airbag. It's mounted properly, not cracked, damaged, or loose, or leaking any air. And we have a shock that's mounted properly. That's not cracked, damaged, or loose, or leaking any fluids. And then we go to the brakes, and just like up there, we got a brake hose that comes to the chamber. The brake hose is mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking any air. The brake chamber is mounted properly, and it's held together with a C-clamp, which is tight. There's no sign of any air leaks on the chamber. The push rod and the slack adjuster are both mounted properly, and you can't pull the push rod out more than 1 inch. The pads in the drum are not cracked, damaged, or loose, or contaminated with any oil, and the pads are not worn dangerously thin, or they're more than 1/4 inch. Okay, so that's the brakes. Now we go to the tires. Back here we have to say that both tires are the same thing. So both tires are at least 2 30-seconds tread here, checked with the tread depth gauge. Both tires don't have any cuts, gouges, or bulges on the sidewalls. Both tires have a good seat around the rim, no sign of any leaks. Valve stems on both tires are nice and straight. They're not cracked, bent, or broken, or leaking any air. And both valve stems have caps on them. And we checked the air pressure in both tires with a tire pressure gauge, and they're up to manufacturer specifications. Then we go to make sure that both tires, there's no gap in between the 2 tires where the 2 tires are put together or held together, and there's no foreign objects in between, like a rock or a tree limb or something like that in between the 2 tires. Then we go to the rim. The rim's not cracked, damaged, or loose, and it's no illegal welds on the rim. All the lug nuts are tight. There's no cracks in between the lug holes. All of them, no sign of any looseness, no soot trails or anything like that. And our wheel hub is in good condition. It's sealed. No sign of any leaks, and all the bolts are there. It's in good condition. So then we go to our mud flap. The mud flap's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. And it's proper height off the ground. We go to the back of the bus. We look at the back of the bus. Just overall general overview. Everything looks good. It's not leaning left or right. No leaks back here. Our clearance lights at the top are red in color as they're required to be. They're not cracked, damaged, or loose. We come up here. Our turn signal is amber in color as required. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. Brake lights, not cracked, damaged, or loose. Get proper color. Same way the backup light is not cracked, damaged, or loose. We have another brake light, and it's also a license plate light. It's clear here on the bottom. It's in good condition. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or either. Our reflective tape is in good condition. It's not torn or anything like that. Our rear bumper is mounted properly. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and our exhaust is at the proper position. Our door opens. Left the key on, and it opens all the way and latches, so it won't close while people are getting off. And then when you're done, it's got a good seal around it all the way around, and then do like that, push it all the way back open to get it to close. All right, so that's all here on the back, and then we come around this side. Got the fuel tank. It's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose, leaking any fuel, and it does have a cap on it. securely fastened. We don't have to talk about that because we did it on the other side. Our depth tank is the same as a fuel tank. The tank's mounted properly. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose, or leaking any depth, and it's got a cap. Our door is in good condition. Don't see anything that's broken on it. The seal around it looks good. Hinges seem to work good on it. As we go up the steps, we give each step a little wiggle, just to check it for little loose spots or weak spots. Pull on the handrail. Make sure the handrail's nice and tight. When we get to the top, we turn around and we check our emergency equipment. We got our first aid kit, our cleanup kit, fire extinguisher is in there. It's mounted and fully charged. And we have our 3 reflective triangles in there. So then we'll go down through here and check all the seats. All the seats are nice and tight, securely fastened to the floor. Work our way down, checking all the seats. Open up one emergency exit, open it up, close it, make sure it works. Work our way all the way to the back, checking all the seats, okay? And then when we get all the way to the back, we turn around and we come this way. We're looking for weak spots in the floor. When we get to the overhead, we'll look at this exit, make sure it's in the latch position and it's got a good seal around it. And we'll work our way on up. Like I said, we're just looking for loose stuff in the floor, damage to the floor, all the way up through. Look again, check the seal. Once we get all the way up here, we're pretty much getting close to being done. Put our seatbelt on, because we do everything from here on out with the seatbelt on. First thing we do when we sit down is check our mirrors. Our mirrors are properly adjusted for me. We looked at the windshield on the outside. Now we look on the inside. We don't see any sign of leaks out here either. So now we're ready to do a safe start. Put on the brake, start it up, turn the lights on. First thing we're gonna do is check all our heaters, okay? So we check all the heaters. You can hear them in the back there. Turn them all off. We got our defrost, which is this one right here with the little fan symbol next to it. Turn it on high, reach up there, feel it, turn it back off. Next we check all our lights in the ceilings. 1, 2, 3. And see all the lights on. Alright. So then now we got our exit door. I turn my headlights on just so that if they're not on, that step light won't work. So your headlights have to be on. Step light opens, close the door, it goes off. So we're going to open it back up. So now we go here, our dash lights are working, okay? We check our gauges. Our temperature gauge is up to normal operating temperature. Our air pressure gauges are 120. Our fuel gauge says we got a half a tank. Our oil pressure is up to normal operating pressure. Then we go here to our turn signal. We can check our high beams, back to low beams, right turn, left turn, four-way flashers, windshield wipers, windshield washers. Then the 2 inches of play and a 20-inch steering wheel, and then hit the horn. And that's it, okay? So now we're done with that part. So now we'll go ahead and turn our lights out, shut the bus off, okay? So now we're ready to start the air brake portion, and we'll see if it's gonna roll or not. Y'all watch out in case it starts rolling. All right, we're sitting still. So now we're ready to start the air brake portion. So first thing we do is turn the key on. All right, ABS light comes on. ABS light goes out. That's very important. Okay, so we're listening and looking. We don't hear any air leaking, and our gauges are steady, so we know we got a good system. So the first thing we're going to do is the applied test. What you'll tell her is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my foot and put it on the brake pedal and hold it down for 60 seconds. And during that time, it can't drop more than 3 psi. Would you time me, please, and tell me when to go? So she says go. You put your foot on the brake, you hold it. When she tells you 60 seconds is up, take your foot back off. It didn't drop more than 3 psi. That's a good test. Next thing we're going to do is continue to pump the brakes down till the low air warning buzzers come on. They should come on somewhere right before 59 psi. Pump them on down there. The back one will come on first and then the front one with this particular bus. One, there's two. And it came on about 63 PSI. That's a good test. So next thing we're going to do is pump it all the way down, and somewhere between 20 and 40 pounds, this parking brake should set. So we're going to go ahead and keep pumping it down. With this particular bus, it should pop out around 30 pounds on that front. And right about there should do it. Okay, so it came out right at 30 PSI. So that's a good test. So now we'll do a safe start. Kick on the high idle over here. It's right below the panel. And let it build up. So and that's
it.
That's it.